Cash rebates now. Call 888-836-4029 or go to AgassiEQ.com.
Tune into WDAY Radio weeknights at 6:30 for primetime sports.
If we have the puck the most of any team in the league, we'd probably be first in power play opportunities because it's just more opportunity for power plays. It doesn't work that way. Obviously, there's a psychological factor, I'm sure, with the refs going on there.
Hey, welcome to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm in studio with a special guest, Mr. Sirku Sirleaf. He's running for mayor, and we're going to spend the hour talking to him because, as you guys know, I've been hard on the government the past couple of years that I've been in office, and I've said, me personally, being unsatisfied with the way the local government is being run, I'm not voting for anybody who currently holds office, and that's just my personal preference. I mean, you can't run up a $1.3 billion tab and then tell me that you're doing a good job. You know, you can't consistently raise the debt and tell me you're doing a good job. You cannot cut funding for programs that I think, and remember, all of these are personal opinions, so if you differ, that's fine. But, you know, I told my kids, I said, the one thing that you have to remember that in the United States, the one thing that is your own is your vote. And because your vote is your own, you don't have to explain to anybody why you vote the way you do. You know, you just have to get out there and you have to be a part of the process. And for me, I think you have a civic duty to get out and do those things. So my perspective is, you know what? I'm not happy with the local government. You know, and understand, look, I've met Denise and I've heard of Michelle. I've never met her personally, as well as Dave Pepcorn. I met them all, and they seem like perfectly lovely people, okay? But I'm not here to elect somebody who's perfectly lovable or lovely. I want somebody to do the job correctly, okay? So for me, I've got a large task of deciding if I'm not voting for anybody who currently holds office, then who do I vote for? And so part of my platform I'm going to do is I'm going to have some of the candidates on that I think can make a difference, as well as I'm going to give some, I can't call them incumbents because they currently don't hold the office of mayor, but I'm going to give some people who are currently in office a chance to give their position and how I should vote for them. So, you know, there's a thing we used to have equal time. You know, it used to be a law you had to give equal time to one side or the other. I'm going to try to do that over the next couple months so that people can make an informed decision. But before I do that, I have to get I'm only going to have one thing for the week in review. And as you guys know, I was a high school coach for a number of years, well over a decade, wow. As well as I've been in the coaching arena for 35 years. And last week something happened that was very interesting. And that was that two Shanley coaches, two that I know of, the basketball coach and the women's coach, were fired last week. And I have a personal stake in Shanley women's basketball because one of my friend's daughters plays for the team, okay? Now, that would make me an insider, okay? That would make me someone who has personal knowledge of things that happened at that school. And I can tell you that a lot of people are getting it wrong, okay? Very wrong. And they're pointing the finger at people who actually supported the coach, okay, in everything that she tried to do, all right? And so if you don't have firsthand knowledge of it, I think you should probably back up, okay? Now, Shanley has a history of letting coaches go. I don't know why that's surprising to anybody, but for people to personally attack without having firsthand knowledge, first of all, I'm disgusted because I know for a fact that the two families that were named, which were Siebert and Taylor, they went out of their way to support the Shanley coach. And that's firsthand. And by the way, sometimes coaches just aren't liked, okay? Having been a head coach, having been a coach, you can never please everybody. But I find it interesting that, an institution makes a change and most of the blame falls on the families. And, I got to tell you, there's a lot of working parts to this, Now, personally, I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I can tell you this. I think it's disgusting the way that people are out. First of all, keyboard warriors are allowed to just get out and do whatever they want and say whatever they want. But I'm going to say this, okay? First of all, that coach was supported more by the parents than you could ever imagine. And as a former coach, you're not going to please everybody. But what I would say is, how about everybody keep their eye on their own bobber, as one of my friends like to say. We've got enough issues. Let Shanley work out Shanley's issues. But more than that, to put families on blast, to put these athletes on blast, you're not helping anyone. Now, if there's an institutional problem, I believe that they can work that out themselves. But it really chapped me because a lot of people out here reporting things are getting it all wrong. So that's my rant for the week. If you want to call in and talk about it, you're welcome to. I got bigger fish to fry because I happen to have Mr. Sekou Sirleaf with me. And, when deciding, who I'm going to start with, it really was who was the first that became available. And so first, I want to thank you for coming on my show. Everybody else I kind of had to schedule out, but I appreciate you being here today. So welcome to the show. Now, we're going to dive into a little bit of your first of all, I should let you say a few words. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good, John. It's good to be here, man. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, well, you know what? The people need to know. I think that, like the United States, in Fargo, we are in a pivotal time in Fargo's political history.
I couldn't agree more.
And I think that we have to get it right this time because I heard somebody say there's no way the city's in debt to $1.3 billion.
Oh, yes, we are.
And the fact is we are. And the people that are in office, it's not like they've only been, with the exception of Michelle Turnberg, these people have been here for a while. So to me, where else do you put the blame for our debt crisis than the people that were in office? So I'm not going to ask, first of all, I'm not going to ask you to comment on that because I believe that if you're running for office, you should be able to stand on your platform.
Sure.
So I'm gonna dive right in because I want to know, just give us, why should anybody vote for you?
That's an interesting question, John, and it's a good place to start. I mean, why should anybody vote for ST or Sekou Sirleaf? It's simple. Number one, I'm an outsider. Two, I think I understand the problems. Given my position as the chair of the Fargo Human Rights Commission, I think that gives me a close-up look at how city government runs. And the reason you have to vote for me is because right now there's a disconnect between City Hall and the residents of Fargo. There's a serious disconnect. And I want to bring City Hall to the people. I want to make sure the residents of Fargo have a voice. They have a say. They get to know what City Hall is about. And we have to transition the city. I mean, right now, Fargo is the only major city in America today that still runs the city commission form of government. And I think that's a good place to start because the city commission form of government, I mean, it was effective back in the day, but I think right now it's obsolete. We need to transition to a city council like every other major city that is 100,000 residents and above is doing, so that we create wards like we have in Moorhead, we have in Grand Forks. We can have wards and we can have equal representation because right now, Fargo's almost 140,000 people been run only by 5 people, the mayor and 4 commissioners, who all almost seem to live in the same zip code. That is not right. So you need to vote me in because I have a kick on that. I'm like every other person beside me, who's running for mayor right now. It's like the arsonists who helped to burn down the building. Now you asking to be contracted to come and remodel. We don't need remodeling. We need to build a new system. So that's why you need to vote me.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
So you were part of the Human Rights Commission. By the way.
I'm still part.
Okay. Well, some would say the Human Rights Commission has been ineffective. Okay, under your leadership.
It was set up to fail, not under my leadership. It's always been like that.
Talk about that.
Yep. The HRC was set up to, be a bridge between City Hall and the people.
Right.
But we don't have any authority to do anything. Everything we try to do is stalled by City Hall. For example, let's go back a few years back when Shane Natterville got killed by the Fargo PD. We on the HRC, we call for independent investigation. And City Hall shut that down. They don't want us to do that. Okay, then let us collaborate with the Police Oversight Review Board. We got shut down. We got shut down again. You can't do that. Before we know it, City Hall moved to end the Police Oversight Review Board. During the war in Gaza, we the young people came to meet us and at the Human Rights Commission. We voted on the resolution that we sent to City Commission. They also shut that down. So at every point, we just there, but we can't do anything. So it's not like we failed. We were set up to fail. MLK, we used to do that. City Hall will practically do everything. We just sat there, and before we know it, they pulled the funding for MLK and Juneteenth celebration. What can we do about that? And before we know it, they ended the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion without even consultation. They just do things. I think, like I told them, the Human Rights Commission and other commissions, and the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I think they were set up by City Hall just as one of those fill in the box thing. That's it. With no practical reality.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for answering that question. I do not disagree with you that we have agencies or departments that aren't funded and aren't supported in our government, which is part of the reason that I'm out on whoever's in office because, Big Game James says we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about this because that's a topic that I've touched on, the fact that we create these entities with no teeth to do the job. This is Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Hey, welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here with Sekou Sirleaf, and we were talking about, before the break, we were talking about you heading up the HRC, which is a Human Rights Commission, and the fact that it was ineffectual, and we both agree that part of it is, for me, I felt like DEI and the HRC were put in place to basically get everybody to calm down, particularly after the George Floyd morning.
Exactly.
So here you're heading up a department that had no teeth. How do you function within that environment? How do you, first of all, what did you manage to get accomplished as the HR in the HRC?
That's an interesting question because when it comes to accomplishment, how do we measure that? We don't have any power to execute anything. Our job is to listen to the residents of Fargo, understand what their concerns are, and then escalate that to City Council. And City Council decide what they do with it. So if that's the question, then I think we accomplished our task. We did listening sessions. We created educational pieces. We invited in different groups that talked to us. And our findings, we pushed that up to City Council, and they decide to manage whatever we give them.
So then what is the pay for somebody who's on the Human Commission?
Oh, it's voluntary. It's free. There's no pay.
How many hours a week did you spend in the Human Commission?
We got to spend up to, depending on the activities of the month, you got to spend at least 4 to 8 hours a week based on what we're doing. If we have fairs and things that we have to cover, but regularly we have a working session during, and then we have the regular HRC meeting, which is an hour. But if there are issues that we have to discuss,
so minimum of 5 hours.
Yes.
But then you and I both know that doesn't encompass phone calls.
No, it doesn't.
That doesn't encompass the outreach of going into churches, going into schools.
It doesn't.
Meeting the general public.
No, it doesn't.
So if we had to put a number on it, as a coach, I know for every 2 hours that I spend coaching, there's an equal number spent involved with parents, administration, things like that. So we could easily say, I would say 10 hours devoted to HRC, and for that, and I hear what you're saying. You're saying that basically you listen to the people, you bring it to the
City
Commission. And so then, if you're mayor, how do you go about? First of all, let's talk about public safety.
Sure.
In light of what happened out at Heritage,
Yep.
More and more people are saying, well, Fargo is becoming less safe. What I'm saying is we're becoming more aware. The sensationalism in the media now, a lot of the news is notorious. If you look at it, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's in the forum, a lot of the news is about horrific things that happen in other places.
Yep.
And I'm astounded at the amount of news that goes out that doesn't pertain to Fargo. Like if you look at the forum, you'll see a picture saying that someone was caught in a fire, and it's not even about the city of Fargo. And so, that type of sensation, that type of journalism, to me is, I think, part of the issue. So when we talk about public safety, what does that mean to you and the residents of Fargo?
When I think public safety, I'm thinking about, people sleeping unafraid. I'm thinking about people being able to work out any hour of the night. I mean, people work 24 hours. People should be able to go to work in the morning, leave work in the morning. People should be able to walk out. There's some businesses that are 24 hours. People should be able to get around at whatever time they choose to get around without being afraid. That's what I think about, public safety. But it doesn't begin with police officers, because I think what we get wrong in the U.S. here is whenever we think public safety, we think about just flood the street with police officers, and I think that's what's making us not to really address public safety. Public safety should not begin with law enforcement. I think public safety should begin with families. We should learn to support families, strengthen families. Because everybody going out there to commit a crime, they came from a family. So when families are poor, when families are dysfunctional, of course, it's a recipe for disaster. So when we start with strong families, when we start with building strong towns, when we can try to mitigate poverty, we are working towards public safety, and people don't see that. They don't think those are major components of public safety. They think public safety is just throw police officers in the streets. So you got police in the streets going for cause that police officers should not even go for. If somebody is having a mental episode, you don't need a badge and a gun to solve that problem. If somebody's just having some minor, dispute, I mean, there should be other resources that we can use to handle some of those things, and then the police can focus on real crime, and they can really solve crime. I mean, we can, alleviate some of that burden from our police officers. I believe they do a good job, but they are overburdened. Not every call should be, for a police officer. We need to have some other social workers and other.
So along those lines, a lot of people say, well, Minneapolis is trying that currently.
Yep.
And failing miserably. Okay? And if you haven't been down there, you would say that. Okay?
Okay.
But having come from Minneapolis, a lot of the residents feel like it is the way you say. But if you haven't been down there, and I'll tell you, here's one thing is that they send a lot of fire and rescue on calls where people are distressed emotionally.
Yes.
You hear a lot of sirens going off in Minneapolis and the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Minneapolis currently is understaffed as far as police go, but a lot of people say, well, it's not working in Minneapolis. Look at all the issues that are happening in Minneapolis, but at the same time, it's not even being covered like it should. And I'm bringing that up because you're not wrong. I think a lot of times we do send police in the wrong areas for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
Okay. At the same time, we have a budget deficit. Where does the money come from to do the things that you want to do?
From the budget. I think, you see, budgets are projections, what we intend to do for that, fiscal year. And I think our budget needs to be prioritized. I think when I look at City Hall, when I look at Fargo right now, I don't think they prioritize social safety net programs. I don't think they prioritize things that really have to do with ordinary Fargo residents. I mean, real people that are living with real problems, real issues. We're not prioritizing those people. I think right now City Hall is more catering to major developers, corporations, and that's the difference. When I'm coming into office to focus on the real needs of real people in Fargo. I'm talking about single moms that are struggling. I'm talking about parents that have to work 2-3 jobs to take care of kids and keep roof over their head, and everything is just like a big visual cycle. When you talk about public safety, you still got to think about how many jobs parents have to do just to make ends meet. So when parents are out of the home all the time running between jobs, who's taking care of their kids? Their kids have been groomed by the internet. That's already a problem that is brewing. And so public safety should not just be, hey, put police in the streets. And where do we get the money from? Back to the question, in the budget, our budgets have to be our spending has to be prioritized. It has to be targeted. It has to be intentional. Where do we put our dollars? Look at the bus service, for example, that ordinary people depend on to get around the city. It's already ineffective, but we still go there and still make cuts into those places. I mean, I appreciate the airports. The airport, I mean, the upgrade and all of that, but how many ordinary Fargo residents go through the airport? They depend on the bus service to go to work. The bus is not even running everywhere. It's not effective. That's somewhere we can put more dollar because, you see, the poverty in Fargo right now, the poverty rate in Fargo stands at 12.8%. 12.8%. And the poorest people in Fargo right now are anybody living between the ages of 18 and 34 years old. That alone is a public safety problem. Poverty creates crime. So we got to put our dollar where this should be.
That is a great point. And on that, when we come back, we're going to talk about the budget. Big Game James says we're up against the break. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000.
The mentions
Hey, welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here with the gentleman, one of the gentlemen running for mayor, Sirleaf. So when we left off, we were starting to talk about the budget. And for me, I have any number of problems wrong with this budget because since I've been on the radio, this is my third year. Every year it's gone up by at least 10%.
Yep.
Okay? And every year I see vital needs services, what I perceive as vital needs services like Cass County, the health care, the engagement center. Now, granted, I do have to say this. The engagement center was funded through COVID relief dollars.
Yep.
Okay? And so we didn't make any provision for what happens when the money runs out. Okay? And so now we have this albatross that actually is needed, but yet we consistently are looking for ways to get rid of it. Now, someone who doesn't need those services, I still feel like we have an obligation because people that aren't healthy in our community also contribute to our insurance rates going up.
Exactly.
You know, they contribute to crime, okay? They basically, it's like a commissioner said that we will never support people's bad choices, meaning that we don't support the NIDO program, we don't support anything that could possibly help these people that use the engagement center. What do you say to that?
I think, I'll address it this way. I think from what I observe about City Hall, they don't really care about ordinary people. They don't care about poor people. That's just the bottom line. Okay. Because if we care about them, then you will be moved to do something to alleviate their pain. And that's where I come in. You know, my campaign is not built on, taking care of the wealthy 1%. It's taking care of the ordinary people out there because we're all connected in one way or the other. The wealthy people, the 1%, can't do everything in Fargo. They're not going to run the power lines. They're not going to do other things. You still need these families that depend on those services to do those things. So we all need each other. That's why our campaign is built on Fargo for all. We want to build a Fargo that works for everybody, that works for the ordinary person on the roadside, that works for the middle class family, that works for the top 1%. Fargo is becoming unaffordable. People being priced out, and nobody cares to do anything about that because they feel personally it doesn't affect me. So if it doesn't affect you personally, then you don't have to do anything about it. Because what hurts me, Fargo is a youthful town because of the colleges. We are a college town, so we got tons of young people. How do you feel if you're a grandmom, grandpa, to feel that anybody 18 between the ages of 18 and 34 are the poorest? Which grandmom and grandpaps are happy to see their grandchildren live in poverty? It just doesn't make any sense. It's because the people at the top don't care. It's not that they can't do anything about these programs you're talking about. They can do something about it if it affects them directly.
So my big thing is, and I've said it before, we don't have any place for the high school population and college kids that they can call their own. So they tend to vacillate between the mall and downtown. And as a business owner, okay, I have something. I'm trying to make money. I put my sweat and tears into this business, and I have people downtown that are not allowing my customers to come and do what they want to do. And so, I've always said that the job of city government is to focus on the community at large for one simple reason. A healthy community. When I came up here, I felt like Fargo was a healthy community. Now, sans the fact that, we talk about public safety, I always have my own personal people that constantly watch me throughout the city.
Yeah.
No matter where I went. Where I was in the mall, there always seemed to be somebody following me or looking at me. If I'm driving.
I've had the experience too.
Yeah, I always had somebody around. It's almost like, they just were looking out for me or whatever it was. But more than that, I felt like there was a sense of opportunity that I wasn't going to get in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be right. But talking to our youth in the community, a lot of them can't wait to get away from Fargo, or they look at it as helpless or hopeless. How do you address that?
Exactly. And that takes me into, our campaign is actually built on 4 major principles that we're running on.
Okay.
And we call that Fargo PASS, PASS.
Okay.
And that has to do with public safety and affordable housing,
Okay.
service and community. That's where the young people come in, under service and community. We want to build programs that will cater to the needs of young people because our young people are really struggling. And I think I read a study some time ago that if the trend continues, those that are teenagers today, given 15, 20 years from now, they all be living on welfare. And we got to do something about that. The young people need places that they can go to, dispense some of that energy. They have to have a place of their own. So under service and community, we want to develop those kind of programs. Under service and community, we want to develop programs for our veterans and seniors. These are people who've given everything for the country and for the city. What are we doing for them now that they're in their old age? Because, I was on Valley News Live yesterday, and I talk about, how the city hall, they try to stigmatize homelessness. And it's very offensive to me. Because every time we talk about homelessness, it's like we make it a fault of somebody who's homeless. We're not looking at the causation to homelessness. There's so many reasons people are homeless.
Yes.
It's not because they're on drugs alone or because they are lazy. There are so many reasons people are homeless in Fargo. So we have to address the root causes to homelessness, and then we can fix the problem. But I don't know, City Hall is always in a hurry to apportion blame to people that are already struggling, like, hey, it's your fault. You're not making responsible decisions. You are lazy or you're on drugs. And that is just a wrong approach. You can solve any problem. You cannot come up with any practical solution when you already feel the blame is on the person you're supposed to be helping. You're not going to help them. And that is where I'm coming in to change the narrative. And of course, I know we will get there. But the last S in Fargo PASS is smart growth that has to do with transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility. That's where we start from. So our young people are struggling, and I see them, and this campaign is built on young people. We want to do things to turn the corner when it comes to assistance to young people. My focus is the young people because they are the future of the city. If we're not preparing them, if we're not giving them the right attitude, the right mentality to look at the future in a different spectrum, that we are just not building for the future. And that's what I see City Hall's doing right now. They really don't care about ordinary people. They don't care about young people. They don't care about our seniors and our veterans. And I see those gaps in services, and we just want to mitigate some of those gaps. That's why I want to run. That's why I'm running for office.
Okay. So now here's a question. What would you say to the business people? Because we have a very strong business climate.
Yes.
Okay? We have our growth, we never seem to run into an economic downturn because I think that the people that are at the top, they make a lot of fiscally smart moves. How would you incorporate the people that are getting these benefits? What would you say to corporate America in Fargo? How are you going to partner with them so that they don't feel like you're taking from them, that you're making them stronger?
The message is simple. To corporate America, corporate Fargo. Businesses,
Hang on 1 second. James says we're up against a break. We're going to touch on corporate America right after this.
All right.
We got to get these commercials in because that's important too. When we come back, we're going to talk about your idea for corporate America as it pertains to the city of Fargo and running for mayor. This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Hey, welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here with mayoral candidate Sekou Sirleaf, and when we left off, I asked you the question, how would you address local corporate America as far as, I mean, because they've got to feel like, hey, you're anti-business. What would you say to that?
No, I'm not anti-business. I'm pro-business. Okay. And the economy in Fargo is driven on, corporate America, local businesses. We look at the major corporations and we look at small businesses, the moms and pop stores. Those are the mainstay of the economy. And if you watch moms and pop stores, they are all struggling. Small businesses are struggling. So many small businesses are closing down. And they also need the assistance. So the larger corporations, if you were asked to do a little contribution to move the economy forward, it's not trying to take money from you because there are people work for you that are struggling. There are people that you want to do a good job for you. If you want to eliminate waste and other things, the people that do the job for you, you want to keep them smiling, you want to keep them happy. And that is what the problem that I have with the tax cut for the millionaires and billionaires, because the tax cut is not a bad thing in itself if it is used appropriately.
Right.
So if I give a business a tax cut, and that tax cut can benefit the people that work for them, then it's not a bad idea because as we impact those, if the tax cut is going to impact the families that work for those businesses, then it's a good idea. But if the corporations are going to just take that money and put it in their savings and not allow it to impact the people who work for them, then it's not a good thing to do because the tax cut is to give you a reprieve to be able to do something better. Why not improve salaries? I think it was last year when the board for Tesla voted to give Elon Musk how many $1 billion? And I was like, how foolish. Okay, what about the people who make $10 at Tesla? Why can't they take that money? He's the richest man already in the world. And you're giving him billions more to do what? When the people working in Tesla, the ordinary customer service rep, the ordinary mechanics, the ordinary guys that are working there, they could use that money to improve their families. Fargo is better when we are all doing better. Fargo is not only better when the people at the top are doing better. Everybody got to be doing better. Because if everybody's not doing better, then you're creating a problem. That's another problem in itself. When your workers are disgruntled, when your workers are unsatisfied, they're not going to give their best to your company. So we're not being anti-business. We are pro-business. But we want the city to thrive so that everybody benefits from the growth of the city. We are contributing to the growth of the city. And the people at the bottom, they pay the biggest taxes. The people at the top are not paying taxes as the ordinary people making $10, $11, $12, $13. So how fair is that? That's all we're trying to say. If you can do a little more to inject a little more in the economy so that everybody is smiling, everybody doing their best. Nobody's going to be thinking about crime or fraud or all these things. Now, these things come about because people are hustling, people are trying to make ends meet. And then you end up blaming them for making poor choices, bad decisions, when actually you put them in that position. So that's not smart leadership.
Well, I got to tell you, everybody knows that I worked at Shields, and I love Shields because they empowered me to do the things that I needed to do to become successful.
Yeah.
And I always said that if the government adopted the Shields model, it would be amazing because you know what? First of all, it's employee owned. Imagine if the government were truly employee owned with the citizens being the employees.
But that's why we're made to believe that the government of the people, for the people, by the people is supposed to be employee owned.
Yeah, well, it's owned for some, but not for everyone. And for me, I want somebody in office that's going to look at it and say, okay, this is what needs to happen. It sounds like you have a plan.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I wanted is, as well as the other candidates that come on the show, I want people to hear your plan, and I wish you the best of luck. I'm still out as to who I'm voting for, but you've made a strong case today.
Yeah, we are focused on ordinary Fargo residents. We focus on people that are struggling to make ends meet. We focus on that single mom, single dad. We're focusing on that family of 7 that need the assistance and they can't get the assistance. we focus on everybody in the community. We focus today. There are more than, and don't take my word for it, but I think there are more than 200 languages spoken in Fargo. Fargo is more diverse than we think. But if you look at City Hall does not reflect the diversity of Fargo.
Well,
I want City Hall that I can walk in and I see a Native American work at City Hall. I want to get to City Hall and see a Hispanic work at City Hall. I want to get to City Hall and see minorities at City Hall. I want to see, because the Fortune 500 companies that do better are those ones with diverse workforce. Why can't we do that? What are we afraid of? Diversity is not our weakness; it's our strength.
Well, there is a strong contingent that would say that you're not only wrong, you are dead wrong.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, diversity has become a bad word, right? Even though we preach that
people intentionally made that a bad word.
I know that. Yeah. Even though we preach that America is
the melting pot.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's funny how hypocritical we become around certain buzzwords. But I hear what you're saying, and it's, to me, the single most important thing to come out of the election is that the people whoever gets elected focuses on the real issues.
Real issue, practical solution, not just political rhetoric.
Diversity is not an issue, okay? Because to me, you hire, as a person who hires people, you hire the best person for the job.
And you think there are no best Native American that can work at City Hall? You think there are no best Hispanics that can work at City Hall?
That's the point.
And I've been asking the city administrator the question, why don't we have any other person work at City Hall? They said that they're not applying for those jobs, or you're not hiring. I want to see the hiring record. You can't tell me in Fargo there are no professional Native Americans. You can't tell me in Fargo there are no professional Hispanics. You can't tell me in Fargo there are no professional minorities. I would not buy that.
I want to thank you for your passion. We got rocking and rolling. I want to thank you for being on the show. So there you have it, sir. There you have it, sir. There you have it, folks. Sekou Sirleaf is running for mayor. You can go to WDAY Radio now if you want to hear back the show and look at exactly what we had to say. Now you don't really have to guess. You can hear it straight from him. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. Have a great week, and as always, stay black.